So, since the live stream has been delayed, I thought that this was the perfect opportunity to make another video, a small one this time. As always, this is a theory video. I use information available in the game, but my theories and conclusions are not to be considered the official lore of the game unless I got something right and it's confirmed in a little update of the game itself. With this video, I intend to analyze a little deeper the difference between the pure elements of the Light Realm, the old world, the place where the dragon sovereigns lived and ruled, and the human realm, the inhabitable half of the microcosm of Teyvat, the place that we are exploring. So this video is basically a deeper look into something we talked about in my previous video. If you haven't watched it, you'll find the link in the description. The basis of my theory lies in what the wings of merciful, wrathful water say. Egeria, the substitute heart of the primordial sea, was created with substance and essence that were all original matter from this world, entirely without outside elements, which means that there is a defined difference between the matter of the Light Realm, the realm of pure elements from which the dragon sovereigns come, and the human realm, Teyvat. For Egeria to be an actual functional substitute, the elements of the human realm have to mirror the elements of the Light Realm. As I said in many videos in the past, the elements of the Light Realm were listed by Orobashi, the god who fell into Enkanomiya, a section of the primordial unified nation, and learned secret truths hidden by the heavenly principles, for which he was punished with death. These elements are earth, fire, water, wind, ether, and void, plus an unknown element he never listed but that has to exist since there were 7 Dragon Lords, so it's the element of the Dragon King Nibelung. These elements were most likely used to create everything inside Teyvat, since, as Before Sun and Moon says, the Primordial One first defeated the Dragon Sovereigns, and we know that he or she took their powers when this happened, and then everything, mountains, rivers, air, plants and animals, and in the end the humans, were created inside Teyvat. The power of wind may have been used to create the air, earth to create the land, water to create the seas and rivers, but also the first life forms that were then nurtured by the power of Dendro, probably also used to create the plants. And this may sound stupid, but maybe fire was used to forge the bodies of the primordial humans, to host the souls that were stored in the ark mentioned in Before Sun and Moon, or maybe it was used to create the sun and the phase sky. Wind became animal, earth became geo, water became hydro, fire became pyro, and these are the easy ones. I theorize that ether may be Dendro because ether is the quintessence, what exists between the dome of the sky and the air of the human world, which in Genshin Impact is where the stars, the Irminsul fruits, are. And as a consequence, Irminsul itself, the tree that regulates the existence of the entirety of Teyvat, has more or less the same function of the imaginary tree of life from Honkai Impact, so ether, Dendro and imaginary are in a sense the same kind of element. Not to mention also that the avatar of Irminsul is the Dendro Archon. On the same line, Void, or more specifically Quantum in Honkai Impact, is the element of the Sea of Quanta, from which the imaginary tree was born. In Honkai Impact, the worlds that fall from the branches of the imaginary tree into the Sea of Quanta become bubble universes, which is very similar to what happens to the places that fall into the Abyss in Genshin Impact, since they become domains. As a consequence, Void is the Abyss, and I think that this element is mirrored by Electro, easily explained by what one of my viewers said. The Raiden Shogun can literally slash the fabric of reality with her powers, and she even erased a whole section of Yashiori Island with her sword, so you can see why I'm associating Void with Electro. Lastly, there's the unknown element, Nibelung's element, that is most likely going to be something like ice, placing the Dragon King in Snezhnaya, the last nation we will visit, and obviously its mirror element is Cryo. My reasoning is based on the tarot card associated with the Cryo Archon, the Hierophant. It can represent both the traditions and high institutions, but also the challenging of the status quo, which seems to apply both to the Tsaritsa and to the Dragon King, considering what Apep told us. And no, before you say it, Nibelung's element is not the golden element of the Traveler, because the 7 Gnosis contain the powers of the 7 dragons, so its power has to be among the ones we know. By the way, I have 3 videos in which I explain the correlation between the Hypostasis names, the tarot cards and the Archons if you want to have a better understanding. The links are in the description. Having said that, it's time for today's theory, which is kinda complicated, but I'll try my best to be as clear as possible. The first half of the theory explains what Apep told us.
In war, the victor would inherit the right to shape the world. while the losers must turn into ash.
What I think it means is that when the Primordial One was defeated and the second who came, the Heavenly Principles, became the ruler of Teyvat, they recreated the world as they saw fit. The question is, how exactly? Well, I accidentally stumbled on the description of an Inazuma domain that I actually, for some reason, never read before. The core of Flowing Sand says that in antediluvian times, now lost to history, there was a foolish ruler who dreamed of building a high garden in honor of the wise sacred tree over the primordial sand. This potentially means that at the beginning of Teyvat, other than the primordial sea, there was also the primordial sand, and I believe that this sand is actually the power of Earth. This would also explain the same symbol on the Shred's ruins and on John Lee's clothes, since it would represent the light element of Earth from which Geo was created. It is actually pretty funny that I decided to use the symbol of Sunagakure, the village of the sand from Naruto, to represent Earth in my last video. Going back to the Heavenly Principles, I think that they laid down an entire new layer of sand over the pre-existing land created by the Primordial One, in order to lay the foundation to create their own world. This sand slowly turned into the land, and the actual evolution of this new version of Teyvat is explained by the 4 tiaras, by Salvindagnir and by the ancient people of Tsurumi Island. The new land in its early stages was frozen, and the surviving civilization was living underground, most likely in the ruins that were buried by the Heavenly Principles, which also explain why most of the very ancient buildings that share Enkanomiya's architectural style are either underground or are sticking through the land. Then some people decided to challenge the icy winds and managed to find a mountain where, because of the advent of warmth, the ice had melted and plants grew abundant. Then the rain appeared, which lowered the heat and allowed for fruits and vegetables to be planted, and lastly thunder pierced the sky. As you can see, with air obviously already present for people to breathe, the 7 elements were used to recreate Teyvat anew. When the new world was created, the Heavenly Principles hid the true genesis of Teyvat from the people, meaning that no one knows about the Primordial One. This is also why I believe that the Primordial One didn't win the war and is now ruling over Teyvat, which was also clarified by Apep, since she distinguishes the first usurper, the Primordial One who took their powers, and the outsiders, as Nahida called them, the first descenders, so the Heavenly Principles that won the war and reshaped the world. If the Primordial One had won, they would have saved the people of Enkanomiya, since Istaroth knew where they were. Instead, they were sealed away, probably to save them from the Heavenly Principles, since they knew too much. Now, the second half of the theory is centered around the Celestial Nails, the pillars from the heavens that the Primordial One created after defeating the Dragon Lords. We know that they have the power to stabilize foreign powers in order to remove the danger they pose to the world, and that they were used to mend the land that was riddled with rifts from which the abyss was leaking, but I think they were also created with the powers of the elemental dragons. As we saw, one nail froze an entire area, Dragonspine, another turned a huge rainforest into a huge desert, another one caused a hole in the ground, and another one caused a very thick fog. To me, these look like the elements that were used to create Teyvat. Dragonspine displayed a very unique kind of ice that is also able to preserve life, so maybe this was the purpose of ice. Sumeru reverted back from a forest to that primordial sand, so earth. The chasm was created because the nail more or less erased everything in its path, just like Void does if we look at the Shogun's powers. And for fog, I'll let you decide what it was, although I think it's the result of the ice sublimating, so going from solid state to gaseous state as we saw in the Tiara of Flame. Short version, wherever the nails landed, they fixed the land with the same power that was used to create that land in the first place. So what we see as the result of the nails is not a random leyline disorder, but the actual power of creation that created this current version of Teyvat. And that's it, I hope you liked the video. If you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and if you're interested in Genshin Impact theory videos, consider subscribing. I know that this theory may sound a little strange, but I hope you'll give it a chance. I mean, it makes sense at the very least. Anyway, I'll see you soon with the 4.2 livestream detail analysis. Thanks for watching, and until next time, over and out.